Nice to be here. Welcome, everybody. We're going to talk about a little bit about Enrise. We are the new standard in organizing. We like to say it's a bit a bold statement to make. So we also call it 99 problems, but the boss ain't one. But that's an existing management book, so we don't want to use that title too often. So some short introductions. I am Hermen Heinen. I studied computer science way back and started the company with a few friends. Right now, I'm the current owner of Enrise. Um, with me today was Fred de Vries, but he's on holiday, so uh, we had a problem with the timing. But luckily, agile as we are, we could manage that. Other one is Gerrit de Graaf. He will introduce himself when he's taking over the presentation. So small bit about Enrise. We were founded in 2000. Then we were called ForWorks. We are a digital agency specialized in complex IT. We build mainly apps, portals, websites, etc. Currently, we have around 60 employees. Most of them are deaf. Well, we'll come to that later. And the unique thing about our company is that we are a self-governing collective of autonomous teams. Well, again, we'll talk about it later on. Regarding the start, a short, brief history to make you understand how we came to this transition. As stated, we started out in 2000 with a few. We started out with four, but it was a small team. Lots of fun, hard work. It was a great time. Very short communication line. There were no bosses. We were just the four of us. On the other hand, there was a lot of chaos, and of course, we were only busy with issues of that day. So we weren't really building company or thinking about the future. After that period, there was a period of growth. We grew from 10, 15 people to more than 40. And we were all making the classic mistakes of every growing company. So with 40 people, we thought we were a corporate. So we had several departments, like a sales department, a project management department, etc., etc. And what used to be exciting became frustration. So things like, well, we have to end this project this week was exciting, but when you have more people involved, it became frustration, especially for the developers. Also, the margins became less. We had a lot of overhead, of course. Everything needs to be managed. Everything needs to be watched out for, and all those people don't bring in any money. So we had like 20 people managing 20 developers. Also, quality became an issue. Like I said, when things get frustration instead of exciting, the people were not thinking about the project, and yeah, quality was the first thing that needs to be stride through. So that of course is a problem, as Enrise is. We want to be known for quality we deliver. Also, very important part was the dissatisfaction of the co-workers. Nobody really liked their work anymore. The stress level was too high, etc. So we were thinking about something completely different. We were rethinking our possibilities. Do we need to grow smaller, for example? What do we need to do? And the basic basis we found was that in order to make everybody happy, you need to be happy with your work. You have to be in control over the work you do. So we started thinking about responsibilities. What is your responsibility, and how do you feel that responsibility? So we started out with four. We just called it teams at the time, but looking in hindsight, we can call it self-managing teams. So we divided the company in four teams. Every team had their own profit and loss, and actually they get two main objectives. One, think of a name for yourself, and two, think of how you can best service your clients. At the time, we had also one central support office that was taking care of sales, marketing, HRM, operations, etc., all as a service to the teams. And to indicate the change it made in 2011 and 2012, we introduced these teams. In 2012, we had 9 people less. Of course, most of them were managers that didn't have a place in a new organization, but we had 9 people less, and we had €500,000 in growth in revenue. And the best part of this story is that everybody, we had 2 surveys at the time, that everybody stated that they felt like it was half the workload. So it's really strange in a company where money is made by making hours, is that when you have less people and more revenue, that everybody's stating that the workload is halved. So that was for us a big, uh, how do you say that? A big, uh, yeah, that we were doing things the right way. So we continued on that path. But of course, with every nothing is perfect, and the teams were growing, but we forgot to grow the support office. So every team was hiring people because they were doing very well. But yeah, when you grow from 30 to 40 or even more, you also have to think of your sales and your marketing and make sure you have enough projects. So things became exciting again, and we did a few changes. One of them, for example, is let's use team captains. We did talks with the teams every week about how things were going. But yeah, you had to talk to the whole team, so it was a bit of a drag. So it said, well, it would be a good idea to use team captain. So one person in a team that is the spokesperson. The problem with that was soon that those team captains were behaving as managers. They were either putting down a team or putting down management, one of the two, and the result was a lot of inactivity in the teams. So yeah, where first all team members were involved, for example, in finance, they now said, well, the team captain is taking care of that. I only have to deal with this project. All the teams became island. We call it an island culture. It's they didn't really care what was happening on the other island. At least if your island is happy and sunny and shiny, nothing, no problem. And if the other island is on fire, it doesn't really care. And also we have the return of the blame culture in traditional hierarchical companies. Um, you have this blame. Well, something is not going right. This department or the director or the manager should solve it. And that was gone, but it came back. So this was one cartoon that was sent out a lot during that time in the company that really showed our predicament. We didn't want to be that doomed company where you sit at one side of the boat and the water is pouring in and you just say, oh, well, it's not my problem. The hole is on their side of the boat. And but we're in the same boat together. So in 2017, we said, okay, we need to change some things. We wanted to go back to the situation in 2012 with real autonomous teams, people taking care of business, and also feeling responsible. So we came in contact with Irene Sinter. She did a thesis on power and structural empowerment, very interesting. And we decided we want to take the move from psychological empowerment to structural empowerment. Um, Let me explain that. A lot of companies say they do self-steering or say, yeah, you have freedom and autonomy in our company. But when things are getting exciting, a manager kicks in. So we want to have these benefits of empowerment, but we want to have this durable. So we want to move from psychological empowerment, saying that you're responsible, to structural empowerment. And definition of that is the distribution of decision making to the lowest level in the organization where a competent decision can be made. That was our credo. So we didn't start out with, yeah, we have to be a self-steering company or self-managing or self-organizing. The English term is a bit difficult for that. In the Netherlands, we call it zelfsturing. But in English, in the management literature, it's a bit difficult. I guess the best term we can use is self-organizing. So bear with me with that phrase. But what we really want to do is not take decision level to the highest position in a company, but to the lowest. So everybody should be able to make a decision based on facts they know. So to put it in a small graph, what I was talking about, in traditional companies, you see a lot of manager-led teams. So teams that are being led by a manager, they are actually only focusing on executing the task for which the team is hired. Then you have the move to self-managing teams. So that was around 2012. We did that. They were monitoring their own work, did their own quality assurance, etc., etc. Then you have to move to self-designing teams, and you see that the team's own responsibility is growing and the manager responsibility is decreasing. So right now we are moving to self-governing teams. I guess that's the best term we can use, is that the teams are not only responsible for their own work, for their own team, but also for the collective. And all the teams are involved, not only involved, but actually responsible for setting overall direction. But there are a few success factors you have to take in mind. It's not that easy to do to make this work. We are working on it since 2012, so it's more than almost 10 years right now. And like I said, yes, we are not a company with no problems. We are just a company with other problems. And to make this a success, you have to make sure that you are able to on certain levels. Like common goal is very important. Not to create an island culture. Why are you working together? What is binding you together? That has to be very clear. Also, shared identity is you have to share the same values. You have to be freaked out about the same things. You have to care about quality the same way. Because if one team doesn't care about quality and the other team does, yeah, that's not going to work. Also, team composition is very, very important. What type of people do you have in your team? Are they all the same, or do they complement each other? It's really important to have the best mix of that people. Also, real control. Like I said, not psychological control. Yeah, you can do it, but I'm watching over your shoulder. No, really put the reins in the hands of the teams. Also, of course, transparency is very important. If you want to manage things, you have to have insights. That's the basis. So, for example, salaries. Yeah, you can't have an opinion on the other team performance if, for example, you don't know their salaries. So, transparency across the whole company with things you want to do, things you want to change, is important. Things that cost, for example, you need to have full transparency in order to steer. Also, feedback, and it's said last, but it's definitely not the least. To have a very open feedback culture. Still, after 10 years, it's still difficult to give professional feedback to your coworkers, purely based on, okay, I want to help improve you and not put you down. And it's all based on trust, and it's very difficult. But feedback is absolutely key, not only between coworkers together, but also, for example, between teams. When you have a team looking at another team saying, okay, I'm not sure if they're doing it right, you have to have a very open culture if the team is able to go to the other team and help them out. So a bit about our implementation. We decided to put it in 3 phases. First of all, to organize it. Our biggest challenge there was actually for me and for the existing management is to let go. Of course, I'm the owner. I have a technical background. I'm too dominant. I think I know everything. So yeah, it was a big step for me to let things go. So it took some time. Second phase is training. Of course, everybody got new responsibilities. For example, you have to think of finance or HR, all processes you weren't used to or don't know anything about. So the training of that responsibilities is very important. And the third phase, we call it harvest. It's not like grabbing everything, but harvest for us was a very important phase because we started this transition in order to make a few things better. Like I will come to that later, but for example, job satisfaction, less stress, etc. And we want to know after a period of time, do we really harvest those things we care about? So in the first phase, we just sat together and said, okay, we're gonna reset the self-governing team setup, but now for real. So also we say, okay, the central management has to go. So in order to make teams responsible for the collective, you can say they have to be responsible, or you can make them responsible. And we decided on the latter. So we said, okay, no management, no central management, and the shareholder, me, had no control. So we put some boundaries up for that, and the boundaries were, I said, okay, as a collective, you need to be profitable. Of course, we're a commercial company, so yeah, you have to be profitable. I didn't say how much, but I just said, okay, we need to be profitable. So I don't look at specific teams; I look at the collective. Second was, okay, we need to have we have to abide by the law. We have to have the revenues in place. We have to pay our taxes, etc., etc. So those were the boundaries you set. If I say, okay, if the collective goes besides those boundaries, as a shareholder, I have a vote. If not, I have to shut my mouth. Enrises are responsible for the team and the collective. First, they were only responsible within the team, but now also for the collective. And we did a step in the collective decision making. There was no central management to make decisions, so we have to do it together. So we thought of a process called councils, and in councils we do collective decision making based on consent. So not no consensus, but on consent. Also, it was a start of the task forces and domains. Those took tasks that were team that was for the collective. So, for example, a task force has a specific goal for a specific time, and domains are actually task forces but with no deadline, and they handle the processes like finance, HR, etc. Also, we had to think of clear boundaries with clear consequences. So if your team is not performing, what happens? So for example, we have a dugout policy. If a team fires a team member, or worse, we decide that a specific team is not functioning well, we have a dugout procedure where when you work for Enrise, you take place in a dugout. Then a few people start out to helping you, finding either a new job in a new team, or maybe starting a new team, or finding a job outside of Enrise. Phase 2 is training. A lot of things. I can talk a lot about it, but the best way to illustrate it is to change our thinking. In classical companies, you have a lot of like something is going on, and you say, yeah, John should fix that, or the sales department should provide more leads, or well, it's a problem of management. Someone else should solve the problem. We moved to the second one is we should solve that. So it's more like a community. Everybody was feeling responsible. Yeah, there's a problem. We should solve it. But there's no real ownership. And we're now in the last phase where everybody within Enrise will say, okay, I will solve that. So if there's a problem or a project not going well, or a coworker is sick, or something needs to be done in the office, everybody is saying, okay, I will do that. And then the harvest part, the four pillars on which we decided to take this change is on higher job satisfaction. So when you work as a developer within Enrise, your job satisfaction should be higher than in other companies. Also, we provide more commitment. That's also the thing we tell our customers. If you work with a team with Enrise, you know for sure, probably you have the same problems as working with any other development team. But with Enrise, those people are committed because it's their team, it's their profit and loss. Also, we think of greater agility as a company because everybody is involved, everybody is responsible. If something goes wrong or there's a new opportunity, we expect that Enrise is more agile than other companies. Also, less stress, and that's an interesting one. Because in most literature you say, okay, when going to self-governing, people get older and more responsibilities, providing more stress. But research also shows that you don't get stress if you do more work. You get stress because you're not able to change your situation. So you have a lot of work, a lot of things going on, but or maybe you're not satisfied with how things are going, but you're not able to change that. That is causing stress. So also within Enrise, we are, and we're still monitoring that. If you are really the one that can change the things, it should reduce stress. To show some improvements we made between 2017 and 2019, these were large surveys we did within Enrise, and you see a very interesting graph. The blue one is 2017. The what is it? Red, not really orange. Is 2019, and you see on all levels there was an increase for empowerment, self-determination, the impact you made as a developer. Everything was higher, except competence, and that was really interesting to research that. So what happened is actually people felt more. They said, "Oh, okay, I'm not that competent as I thought I was," and that's interesting. But those people, of course, get all new responsibilities, and they learned that they don't know everything about everything. So their competence level dropped. So that's an interesting survey we did. But on all other things we measured, and there's another sheet. There are 12 parts, but it's a bit too large to show here. But everything was better. Of course, I get a lot of questions. Can every company do this? Why shouldn't you do it? You have to make sure that a few things are in line. For example, a lot of moves to self-management is because they want to save money. So they say, okay, we have too many managers. We just fire them and tell the teams they have to do it themselves under that's actually psychological empowerment. That's not going to work because, of course, I have an opinion on managers, but still they do work that if somebody else, if they don't do it, somebody else has to do it. If you want to move very fast, one thing that changed within Enrise is that not one is making the shots, but I put it also on the side. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And we really make the choice within Enrise that we want to be a durable company. We don't want to grow the fastest. We don't want to. We just want to create our own pace, and that's really suited for us. Also, you don't want to have developers that only want to code 24/7. We of course had a few developers with headphones on and saying, "Okay, I only want to code." That's a bit of a problem because if you only want to code, how can you be responsible for that new team member, or how can you be responsible, for example, a strategy or a collective or design? So what we see within Enrise is that we have more all-rounders that also like to work on other things than only development. Also, communication levels are pretty high. We expect to give and receive feedback. And a very important one is management is enabled to let go. We have a lot of other companies that were inspired and want to do the same, but in the end there was management that really want to preserve their jobs. I guess if you are in that situation, talk to the owner, because for a company owner, I guess it's a very interesting move from hierarchical to self management. Some personal motivation. A lot of people ask me why, as a company owner, why are you doing this? Well, I did some soul searching, but the basis is that I'm happy when people around me are happy. So yes, of course, I'm an entrepreneur. I like to invest things, and of course, I'm commercial. But my main focus is that I'm happy when everybody around me is happy. I'm not the guy that um, I can stand if somebody is unhappy, even if he's right. Yeah, I just don't like that. For me, also, personal motivation is do what you think is right, not what others tell you to do. Yes, I have a problem with with hierarchy, but I guess with everything we see around us at home during a COVID crisis, etc., think for yourself. Do the right thing, and I guess that's an important motivation. Also, I think that difference between shareholders and employees is too large, especially in the field we are working on. All highly skilled people we work with, and it's strange that a small group of shareholders is getting a lot of money, and employees are still working on a fixed salary. I guess we should move that more together. Also, I see a problem with the difference between employee and freelance. Of course, a lot of good people started to freelance, which of course I guess is right. The problem is that freelance is not always the nicest job, and the way freelancers are treated when hired is a problem. They see it as an individual that needs to help a team, and we think, and I think that in order to really make progress, we should work as teams. Even if you are a share or a freelancer or an employee, it doesn't really matter as long as it is a team. And last but not least, as a company, I think you have a social responsibility. Not only think about money or how things going, but also be aware of what influence you have uh, on yourself, but also on the people that you employ, the clients around you, and the area you are in. So you have to think about that. So where do we go from here? We started in 2017 with the self-steering collective with autonomous teams. We want to actually scale that. So we want to move to a new organizational structure in the coming years. It's actually, the working title is in community. I guess that best describes the company structure. It's a community of teams, companies, whatever, that work together on a shared goal. So to put it in a definition, a self-organizing community of clusters of autonomous teams. So it can be one team, but it also can be a cluster of teams where the majority of the shares lies within the teams. So also we want to transfer ownership where the majority is always in the hands of the teams and not with one central authority. Team members not only participate as shareholder in their own team, but also in the community. So you have two types of shares, and I guess best is that we are open for everyone. So we started this growth from within Enrise, but I hope to see that in the future that we can onboard teams or maybe whole companies that will be part of the Enrise community. So to move back, like I said, we are a company with problems, just other problems. But we want to make sure that one problem, the boss ain't one. So I like to give, I can tell you, of course, that the boss ain't the problem, but maybe best is that a colleague of mine takes this subject. So I will end my presentation now, and my colleague Gerrit will take over. Hope that works. Stop sharing. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Herman. I think I shared the presentation correctly now. And I also think Herman's presentation is gone. So this is how it should be, I guess. Thank you for joining. I'm Gerrit de Graaf. Last week, I celebrated my 16th year at Enrise. So you can call me a piece of furniture for the company. We had quite the history together, me and the company, and also me and Hermen. It's cool to look after Hermen's talk a bit at the team perspective. And my personal perspective also from this switch to self-steering company. As you can see by the picture on my presentation, and also Hermen stated already in his sheet, the team captains were gone. Well, I was one of the team captains of one of the teams of Enrise, and in 2017, when the decision was made to go self-steering, the conclusion was, well, the teams are now self-steering, so bye-bye team captains, which actually was my role. So from one day to the other, I had no job actually. That's of course a bit not the actual case. Of course, I still had a job. I still had tasks and things to do. I just was not a team captain anymore. So I had to search for a new role. And since the team was steering itself, it was not steered by me anymore. So I had to look, well, what to do now. Of course, there are a lot of new tasks in the self-steering team, and a lot of tasks of the team captain were distributed in the team itself, and also a bit of those tasks landed with me. Financial, for example, it was an expertise, and as a team captain, I already had a lot of experience with it. So I also continue to do that in the self-steering team. But I did not have the final votes of the final say in everything the team does, and everyone in the team has an equal right to say in which direction the team goes. So I found a new role as Scrum Master. I'm a Scrum Master for the projects which are still in development, and also as account manager. It's like a double role I got for the teams which are not in development anymore, and in which are maintained and active. For that projects, I am the account manager, and that two roles combine very nicely. So I was a lucky team captain to find a new role, and actually I am the only team captain which is still working at Enrise. All the other team captains left the company because they still felt the need to steer. And I think all team captains that left Enrise are in a position now and at other companies where they are still a manager. So yeah, it was kind of hard for me because I like to manage. I like to think I'm good at it. So it was a personal challenge to now find a role where my vote was not final. So lucky to have found that, and that Enrise has given me the space to find that new role, and also the time which it took. So that's my personal perspective, my personal journey from being a team captain to now just another personal member of Enrise. Let's see if I can. I have to go to the next slide, but my mouse is gone. Just a moment. Yes, there it is. That was my personal perspective. But of course, also the team had to go to quite a bit of change, because if there were problems in the past, they could just look at me as the team captain, and I would solve it. And sometimes I loved it, sometimes I hated it. But now the problems that arose had to be solved by the team. So the team was breaking free, and of course, when breaking free, there's only one image that displays it correctly, and that's Freddie Mercury. So I chose that one. Now that we are free as a team, free to do whatever the freak we want, what we will do with the newfound freedom? Well, the main thing that was demanded from all teams was make a plan for yourself. Decide on what you want to do, where you want to go with your team, and describe it and present it to other teams. So think of a proposition, what you want to do. It has to be, it does not necessarily have to be unique. You can have teams with the same proposition as long as there's work enough to provide for them. But yeah, you have to define what you want to do. You have to put that in a plan, a team plan, together with all the information that is also needed for a company and other teams to give an opinion about your team, like a financial plan. What will you do with the personnel in your team? Do you want to grow? Do you want to change some things? What do you need from the rest of the company? For example, sales is not a part of the teams; it's in another team. So if you need like 1 million in revenue, we have to talk to the sales guys on if that's realistic to get it. So we needed to think as actually as a mini company within the company of Enrise. We had to act like it. So yeah, everybody in the team had a specific role to get there. Someone had like the human resource role, someone had the finance role, someone had the communication internally role. So everybody found a place, and we all put that stuff together in a team plan, and presented that to the company. Yeah, which also includes a budget. This is often kind of hard to make, since we are not financial experts. Most of the Enrises are programmers, so putting together a budget is quite a challenge. And we had some outside guidance with that. And well, after all the years we are now self-steering, it's finally getting together a bit, but it still is hard to make a budget. Of course, you don't have a crystal ball, but you can make it when you think of what you want to do, with how many people you want to do it, and then you can calculate the budget you need for that, and the resources it takes. Also, I just said we are a mini company within the company Enrise. And there was already a talk about Hermen about the islands that were in the original company. Of course, we had to try not to get more isolated now that we are self-providing, self-organizing teams. Working together is even more important now that we are steering ourselves, because well, as the picture of the boat displayed, if there's a hole in another team, we can't just let the other team fix it, because it's also our boat. So we have to try to work together really well and fix the problem. And that was also kind of hard, because if you are operating as a mini company, your first intention is to make that mini company, your team, as good as you want it to be. But also, yeah, you have the responsibility for other teams to watch out for them also, and help them with the problems. And well, that was a challenge, but we kind of yeah, succeeded in that after a few years. Of course, there are a lot of issues with the newfound freedom. One of the most important was getting aligned. As the team captain, it was kind of easy to provide the line on which the team wants to go. It was my line, it was my ID, and I set that out, and everyone had to follow. And I hired personnel to follow that line. And if they didn't like where the team was going, well, they had to find another team or leave the company. But yeah, now when we are self-steering, we have to get the team aligned and find a shared goal. And yeah, that was an issue. Some people left the team because they couldn't yeah, submit to the direction the team wanted to go. Also, sharing responsibilities was hard. Mostly developers, yeah, it's kind of an really clear task. You develop, you make things, but now you also have to have other responsibilities. For example, in human resource, taking on your own personnel in the team, and yeah, sharing that responsibility across in the team and across the teams was hard to do. Yeah, well, I said that some people left the team because they couldn't find themselves in the direction the team was going. That meant we had to find new team members, teammates, and since we now do our own hiring, we had to do to find a nice process in which we could find team members which fitted in the team. Of course, when we started with self-steering in 2017, it was not perfect from day one. Actually, it was far from that. So we had to deal a lot with the heritage that was in the company. In the beginning, for of course the team captains that were still there, but had to find a new role. But also company processes that were not yet ready to go with the self-steering. So we had to completely overthrow all processes in the company and make it ready for self-steering. I talked in the previous sheet about making a team plan and presenting that to the other teams. Previously, we did not do that. We just focused on the tasks we had, and when we were profitable, the management was happy. But now that we make our own team plans, we can also expect a lot of criticism from other teams. Team members, your colleagues that are critical about the direction you may be going with your team, and that was hard. We had to learn to take the criticism at heart and not see it as an attack on what we do. So it was kind of a challenge. It's also a personal challenge because, as Hermen and everybody in Enrise knows, I am not good with criticism. So it was a good learning path to deal with that. And of course, when you have a plan, you have to follow it, and the other teams and the other colleagues of Enrise have expectations, and you have to live up to that expectations. And sometimes a team plan didn't work out as planned, and that could have consequences. Hermen already talked about the dugout. The teams were gone, and the teams were cancelled because maybe they did not meet the proposition. They could not be. They could not find enough work, or even teams that just didn't work together well. They couldn't find a modus in which they were working fine, and we actually had to cancel as an organization some teams because they just couldn't work together well, and well, that led to some people leaving the company. Of course, we also had a lot of gains with the self-steering teams, and getting to be a self-steering team. Hermen stressed the involvement of the personnel which he was kind of looking for with self-steering, and yeah, we found that involvement is really something that made the team that was really happening in the team. So we now have team members which are all focused on the team and are really involved with what they do, and do not sit in a corner of the building with headphones on and try to do their own thing and not looking at other parts of the company. A better connection to other teams, because you can look at other teams and their team plans and approve that. You just you have a stamp of approval from other teams to do what you want, and yeah, in that process you can talk to other teams, and that gives a better connection. So the islands are not completely gone, but a lot less island culture than we previously had. Of course, a lot of freedom. You can decide on the direction you want to go with your team, and sometimes that led to interesting changes. For example, my team was originally a support team, and the members in my team did not want to be the support team anymore, and they decided they want to focus on development. And since 2017, we now fully turned into a development team from the support team that we had. Making a team plan also also needs a bit of entrepreneurship. You have to think about what you want to do, and if that is possible to sell it into the market, and yeah, you have to really explore if that's a possibility. And yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out, and you have to find a new direction. Also, taking responsibility is a huge thing, a huge gain. You see people now doing the things that previously the team captain did. Hermen already had an image of John will do it, we will do it, and I will do that. And that's actually what happened in the team. Now, if a problem arose, somebody of the team is picking it up, or making sure somebody else is picking it up, which has a better expertise for it. But at least they feel responsible for the for the responsibilities that they have. Yeah, and happy puppies. I can say that the team member happiness has actually grown a lot since the time that we started to steer ourselves. People were already happy, but because they did not know what they were missing, now that they know what they were missing, so they are a lot more happy than they used to be because yeah, they are more involved. I want to talk about a case, but I'm looking at Stefan. How much time do we have left, Stefan, for talking about cases? Because I understand that also a lot of questions arose, so we also want to take the time to answer them.
Yes, well, we are at the end of the talk part, but we have 30 minutes for Q&A. We have quite a bit of questions, but I don't know how much time would you need?
Nah, I'm just gonna give a short example. Then I have two cases, but the move case is the most interesting one. As a company, we in 2017 we were in a building that was getting too small for us, and in when you work in a classical company, well, if a management sees that the building is getting too small, it just says, well, let's look for a new location. We take something that the management thinks is nice and we just move, and everybody has to go along and well, just deal with it that we are moving. In this case, self-steering, we did the move completely ourselves. The personnel of Enrise initiated the move of the company to a new building, and searched the location, talked to the owner about the financial consequences that it has, which meant that like a lot of revenue was going to the new building instead of to the owner. We found and so we searched for and found the new place, and we initiated and did the complete move of the company ourselves. We did not have a manager, we did not have anybody telling us what to do, and actually we told Hermen, hi Hermen, we are the company, you are the owner, we're telling you that we are going to move, and here are the consequences. And Hermen had to deal with that, and maybe he can talk about in the quick Q&A how he liked that. But yeah, it was a good decision to do, and because we did the move together with all the colleagues and not by the management. Everybody was behind it, so there were no people with sad faces because, for example, the public transport to the new building was was taking a bit more time to get there by public transport. But yeah, everybody was behind it, and I don't think you will get that when management initiates such a case. So yeah, I can really go on with a lot of cases and a lot of examples, but maybe that's nice for a talk next year. As I understand, Stefan, there are a lot of questions, so I'm going to stop the presentation, and Hermen and I can answer some questions.
How did you manage to change your mind about, letting go all of the control that you had? That must have been a big personal challenge.
Yes, still is. So, yeah. First, of course, letting go is different. But my management style also, I wasn't. Yes, yeah. Difficult to say. I like it when people take ownership and do things. And I tend, when I see that someone is taking ownership, I tend to move to the background and say, okay, that's perfectly fine. The problem is for me when it came to things, for example, company strategy, etc. It's difficult to open up on that level. But I started out first in 2018. I moved to the US for 3 months just to get out of everybody's hair and be. I looked at the one with the most time difference. So I was up when it was night here, so there was no direct connection, and I was gone. And after 3 months, I came back, and everything was perfectly fine. So that was my first lesson. They don't. They are managed fine without me. But it's still an ongoing process, and you have to grow into that. It's not something you decide and you do that the next morning. It's really something you have to grow into. and your coworkers are also responsible of letting you know that you are interfering. And that's also a difficult part for other Enrises. They just have to say to me, okay, you are interfering. Please back off, or let me do my thing. So also, again, feedback is a very important part of making this a success.
Right. So what was the hardest part to let go of?
Clients. Yes, I guess I'm not a numbers guy. I'm not a finance guy. So I guess Enrise is doing financially much better than I was in control. So, but clients, I have with a lot of clients a personal relationship. I really maybe because I started a company, yeah, and it's difficult if a team, for example, decides I don't like to work for this client anymore. It's too of a hassle, and we're gonna ditch this client. We're gonna ditch this, but we're gonna ask the client to look for another agency. So, and that is really difficult for me to let go. Still is. So, yeah,
So, so,
working on that.
so is that how it works? If one team doesn't want a client, they have to search for a new agency, or do you first try to find another team within Enrise to take on that client?
Yes, that's always an internal discussion.
Right.
But,
Yeah, we actually have a good example of that happening at the moment, because there is a team which has ended. The people have left the company also now, but that team had clients, and that clients they needed an owner. So currently my team decided to take over the clients of that team, but there may be some clients there which my team does not want to work for, because maybe the situation of the project or other things. So we have to maybe say goodbye to some of those customers.
Yeah, and it's not only new customers; it's also or not only existing customers; it's also new customers. For example, I have a lead or somebody. One of my network wants to have something, and I'll put it on Slack and say, okay, I got this new possible project, and teams just say, don't really like it.
Don't like the stack.
Don't like the stack. It's a bit far. It's on location. Why? No, we're not going to do it. So that's also very difficult to deal with. But in respect of all other gains, it's only a small one.
There we have someone. Bart, you have a question?
Hey, Bart.
Yeah, I think it's totally related to what is just discussed. A bit of background: I'm searching for a new job, but all the companies where I'm looking at, mostly when you have companies like yours and you have the big IT companies, they work for a lot of different clients.
Yes.
I'm also politically active. I'm really thinking about my life and what to do with the planet and everything. So I'm on the Green Left Party. So you know my thinking about that.
Everybody can make mistakes, but no problem.
Yeah, but my problem with the big companies is that when I'm going to work there and I see some nice clients I want to work for, but the next moment they take a new client and I have to work on a project of Shell or ING or ABN AMRO, I wouldn't be happy.
No.
So that's the thing. Are there also teams in your company that are really looking that way to which companies they want to work for or not? Or is it just in tech way they think about where they want to work for or not?
I guess both. Our basic principle is your responsibility, and with responsibility, um, the freedom of choosing your project as a team. Like if you say, okay, we want, I guess maybe it's a really nice team proposition. We only want to work for green companies. So
Yeah.
fine. The thing is, and that's really the balance we are looking for in Enrise, is with freedom of choosing your own projects comes a responsibility.
Yes.
So if you say, okay, I don't want to work for the shells, etc., that has an impact for your team, but maybe also for the other teams. So if you take that freedom, you also have to take the responsibility. So it's
Yeah.
fine to make that choice, but think of the consequences, and you are responsible for the consequences. If that means that Shell say, okay, you don't want to work for me, so I don't want to work with Enrise, so another team loses their biggest client, for example, you have to talk to each other.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the choice is yours. You get that freedom, but you also get the responsibility.
Yeah. I can imagine if you have some products in your company that's divided over different teams. It's
Yeah,
difficult if one team doesn't want to work with that company and another
yeah.
team wants. Yeah.
But it
I,
happens. It happens. It
yeah.
happens all the time, and we can solve it by talking to each other. And
Yeah.
as a company, also we have some. We also want to work with things we feel comfortable with. For example, I guess working for porn websites is there's a lot of work, I guess, in that area as a developer. But as a company, do we want that? So um, we talk about that together. What is our mission?
Yeah.
What do we want to do? So I don't think that there will be a complete consensus in whole Enrise that we only want to work for green companies. But if as a team you have a focus on that, and I guess there's no, I really shouldn't know why that should be a problem.
Mm. Yeah. Interesting way of thinking inside a big company. Yeah. Thank you.
We're not that big. We're 60 people, so also
Yeah.
we're not like Shell or something. But
No. No. Thank you.
Okay,
okay,
thank you
hey,
very much,
thank
Bart.
you for your question.
There's still questions coming in, so we can continue for a while. I think one of the things a lot of people will probably be curious of, since Gerrit mentioned that already. Hermen, how was your view of that whole move to the new office? How do you experience that?
Uh, I still say I found it very difficult, but it was great. It was the best experience I've had with Enrise for a long time, because first of all, I just hate movement. I hate thinking of decoration, and I have a big hole in my hand. As it comes to spending? So if I would do the move, we probably were broke right now. So for me, it was a great experience, because there was a large task force, or I guess there were 12 or 40 people in that were dealing with, for example, decoration. And the company that we hired to do the design and the decoration actually called me and said, we never had this experience, because normally we get a budget from the management, then everyone that's going to work there is complaining because they miss this, they want to do that differently, and we have to go back to management to ask for more budget. With Enrise, it was the other way around. So the task force decided on a budget they wanted to spend, and then I came in and I said, well, don't we want to spend some more on making it more nice, etc. So for them it was a really strange experience that actually the owner of the company was putting up the budget that the employees were want to give out on this project. So
Yeah,
this is an easy one for me. It's great.
that's interesting because actually, of course, now that we have the responsibility for the costs of that move as the
Yeah.
personal itself, you really can see that we wanted to do it well, but also do it for not too much money. And in this case, well, like the owner said, well, let's spend some more to do it even more nice. And I think that's the example of a great example of the self-steering and why it works. Because you would expect that if the people have an unlimited budget, which they actually have because they are self-steering, they would also go all out on everything that was in the company. But what you actually saw was that people were really thinking about what they will spend and on
Yes.
what, and it didn't get completely out of hand. That's very nice.
Another simple example, for example, our laptops. In my whole career, developers were coming to me and said, I need a new laptop, and this is the spec I want. And and yeah, what should I say? Okay, it's 2,000, it's 200 euros over budget, so you can't have it. I just agreed to everything. And right now, when they buy laptops, they think of what is the budget cost, how does it work. So there are far more involved than I ever was. So
Nice.
It actually saves money. You want
actually
to say?
saves me.
Yeah.
Okay. Just before we go to the next question, if people want to actually see the office, I think you're organizing a meetup soon, right?
Wendy, she's here. What's the next meetup at the office here? Yeah, October 29th.
Yeah, so that's in
Yes.
2 weeks.
That's in 2 weeks. Yeah.
So if if anyone wants to see the office, they can just come by for the meetup.
Come by. Yes.
Excellent. So let's go to the next question. Let me see. A good question. Did you lose any people during the transition because the new structure did not work for them?
Wow. Yes. A lot of people. In 2017, we lost 17 people. So that was a big hit. Yes, I guess our wat is verloop in het Engels? Churn?
Yeah, churn.
Yes? Yeah, churn. Our churn is in 2017, 2018 and 19 were very good. 2020 also a lot of churn. Also maybe, I guess, due to Corona or more working at home, not having that collective feel. But yeah, our churn is not the lowest. So yes, we and that's not only on self-steering, also a lot of other very good reasons. But yes, definitely we lost people that were not comfortable with a new organization. So
it did peak in 2017, the year that we decided to go self-steering. And as I said in one of my slides, it were also all team captains that were then active left the company, and I'm the only one actually which found and managed to keep a new role in the company. But all the other team captains are gone.
But also developers that were not
also
comfortable with
yes.
with the new responsibilities. Yes.
So did you anticipate such a churn when you made this move, or when you were planning this move?
Yeah, a good question. You know, for me, I as a company owner, when somebody leaves the company, I feel terrible. I've been feeling that for 20 years. Even with the best reasons, I hate it when somebody leaves Enrise, because it feels for me like some personal a personal failure. Right now, with the self-steering 3 years in, I'm way more comfortable with that fact, because I'm not feeling that I'm the responsible one for keeping Enrises happy, and within Enrise, everybody is. So I guess, and I guess it's way better than 60 people caring about your happiness than just one HR department. So I'll see it as an investment. So I guess in the long run, it is a really good investment.
Okay. Another question is, what was the response of the clients on the move towards self-steering teams, or maybe they didn't even notice?
First, we kept it internally for a long time. Like I said, we were actually also working with teams with own profit and loss since 2012. So we kept it internally for a long time, thinking of, okay, let's first try to do it ourselves and then talk about it. So, for example, this talk, we didn't really do that a lot, because we just had, okay, let us first show that it works. For clients, it's known right now. Actually, as we quote, we also say, okay, you don't talk to a manager or a sales manager. You talk directly to the team. So if you visit us, you visit the team. You work directly with the team, and so yeah, right now it's known. Also on the website, it's shown we are self-steering. We're now going to use it also. Yeah.
Okay. There's a question, how do you handle situations where there is too little work, but teams don't want to take up the work that is available? Do they have to, carry on and just work through whatever work is available, or do they take a loss?
Both. Again, here is with freedom comes responsibility, and the teams have a responsibility to be profitable, and not as a team but as a collective. So yeah, if one team doesn't have enough work, nobody is telling them they need to check in every work there. You can decide as a collective, say, okay, we can handle that one team isn't working. On the other hand, I see a lot of initiatives from the teams when there's a problem with planning. So yeah, it's their freedom, it's their responsibility also.
Yeah.
And they know, everybody knows that if as a company we won't be able to be profitable, everybody's job is on the line. So I guess that shared collective responsibility, you see it back. Yeah.
The teams help each other out in that cases when teams don't have enough work. And there is also, as Hermen presented in one of his sheets, there are domains which where there used to be managers for some things, like a finance manager or a HR manager. There are now domains specifically for the finance part. So if a team does not have any work, and also does not want to take on work because it does not fit their proposition, they will definitely get a visit from people from that domain asking why, and they have to have a really good story then for that. And that might even lead to the domain saying, well, we don't see that happening. We will make steps to take care of that team.
Yeah, and actually it's quite actual right now, because this year we had 21 people coming in and 6 people going out. So we have 15 extra Enrises this year. So we grew a lot, and yeah, we are looking for projects for Q4. So give us a call. But so we're in this situation now, and you see from example that commercial domain saying, okay, we need to do something with it. How can we help? And they organize, for example, a brainstorm with the teams. Okay, what can we do? And even, for example, outsourcing is on the table, saying, okay, we want to do projects internally. That's who we are. But yeah, if it's needed, I will go somewhere else and do the job over there. So, and that's something that was never possible from a management perspective. But now teams they discuss it themselves. Okay, if that's needed, well, we're going to do that. So that's really good to see, and that's also what I meant with agility. If there's a problem and 60 people adopt that problem and try to solve it, it's so more powerful than if only management, for example, takes on the problem and try to solve it. So.
Right.
Yes, there are still problems, but the type of problems are different. So that's very, very good to see.
Yeah. Okay. We have room for one more question, I guess, and then it's time. So I heard Gerrit mention domains, and one of the domains is human resource. There was a question: how do you train people to be a human resource manager? Because that's quite different from being a developer.
The actual answer is we don't. We like to believe that what we strive for is that people do what they like. So we would never put people in like the finance domain or the HR domain if they don't already like to be busy with that material. And what you see is that when people join a domain which has their interest, they pick it up really fast because they like to do it. And we always say we are all smart people. We can learn a lot and fast. And well, we don't actually train people for domains like finance domain. We have we've had some guidance, but that's more like to set maybe an outline or give examples on how it actually works in other companies. But we do not actually train people. We trust that it will be right. We trust in the competence of our colleagues.
We like to one of the shared values is craftsmanship, and I guess if you are motivated to be in the HR domain, I guess you're a craftsman from inside. So if you participate in the HR domain, I think it's logical that you want to learn and read and be better at the things you are doing.
And fail and learn from that failure.
Yes.
Yeah. Because we definitely do not claim that now that we are self-steering that everything is going well. Like sometimes with finance we have issues, sometimes with HR there are issues, but we all feel the responsibility to solve it.
Okay. Gerrit, Hermen, thank you very much for being here, for answering all the questions, for doing your talk. It has been amazing, and I hope that we see each other soon in person again as well.
Yes,
because
would be nice.
That would be very nice.